The Thursday of a race weekend is Media Day, but what goes on Media Day? I'll tell you in just a moment. When you see an F1 event promoted, you'll probably only see 3 days listed on the promotional material: the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday. For the teams and media though, Thursday is the first day of every event. It's known as Media Day. There's one exception, Monaco, because F1 cars don't take to the track on Friday. Instead, they swap Friday for Thursday. So Media Day in Monaco is always on the Wednesday prior to the race. And remember to please like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future videos. And click the bell button so you're notified when I release new videos. Anyway, getting back to Media Day, what goes on a typical Thursday? I'll tell you. The teams would have already set up the garages and the paddock, and they'd be doing some fine tuning to those areas. On a normal race weekend, that is not a night or a dusk race event like Singapore or Bahrain, the media would be in from about 8 AM and we'd all head to the media centre to get organised. Now, typically I'll go and pick a desk, a locker, get a photography tabard, I'll get stickers for my cameras, and I'll set up my desk. Then for me, it's down to the paddock to wait for the drivers and team personnel to arrive. At most tracks, there are 2 or 3 paddock entrances where we swipe our media pass to enter and exit, and so too do the team members and drivers. Sometimes the media centres are located inside the paddock, like Japan, America and Bahrain. Sometimes they're outside, like in Azerbaijan and Australia, and that typically involves a walk of between 50 and a couple of 100 metres to enter the paddock. So moving forward, the drivers tend to arrive through one gate, so most of the photographers and cameramen congregate just inside that gate. I'm one of the first to get into the paddock, so for the first hour or so, I get shots largely on my own, which is great for shots of, say, George Russell and Charles Leclerc, who are often among the first drivers to arrive. For the record, Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Räikkönen are 2 of the last to arrive each day. As other shooters congregate near the entry gate, I often reposition because I figure what's the point of getting the same shots as them? So it might be I head outside the swipe gates, or I perhaps sometimes head further down the paddock so I can get a cleaner or just a completely different shot. It's worth noting that if you're an autograph hunter or a selfie hunter, one of your best opportunities is to wait outside the swipe gates early on the Thursday. There are fewer people around and the drivers often have time to sign or pose for you. Although how spectators get to that paddock entrance on a Thursday, I'm not 100% sure. But I see plenty of people there, so obviously there's a way for you to get down to the entrance to the paddock. One of the bonuses of the Thursday is some of the drivers arrive in normal clothes, not team kit. I know that those of you who follow me on Instagram love those shots without the team sponsors plastered all over the shirts. Some drivers also roll up straight from the airport with luggage in hand, like Daniel Ricciardo here. But that's mainly at the European races where there are short flights involved and they don't have to acclimatise to different time zones. The drivers arrive spasmodically and normally with someone, albeit a trainer, physio or manager, by their side. Sometimes drivers will deliberately not enter through the main gate for whatever reason. Lewis does this often and is able to sneak past the media and go straight to the Mercedes garage or the hospitality suite. Sometimes he doesn't even use the 2nd or 3rd swipe gate. I've seen him cajole a security guard once or twice to open a gate to the pits so he can enter that way. Nico Hlkenberg was another who would sometimes use the lesser used gate, normally because it was close to the Renault garage. Hence, he had a shorter paddock walk and encountered fewer media on his way. At some point, about 3/4 of the drivers will head out on a track walk. They walk the track in the direction they race, and normally with a handful of team members. They sometimes stop and inspect bits of the track and discuss strategies. The walk takes an hour or so, and while the track's closed, they share it sometimes with work cars which are out and about and we have to be careful of. The only exception to this is in Monaco, when the track walk, which is really a city street walk, is done on the Wednesday and with normal traffic on the road. So who are the drivers that don't do track walks? Typically it's Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen, Kimi Räikkönen and Daniel Ricciardo, although he did do a track ride once last year at the French Grand Prix. As a photographer though, the opportunity to walk the track gives me a chance to to not only shoot these guys when there's few people around, but also to identify locations to shoot from for the race and the practice sessions. This will be especially important for, say, Hanoi this year, which is a new track, and none of the photographers have ever shot it before. So that reconnaissance will be vital in us getting good pictures for that Vietnam Grand Prix. Getting back to the drivers, they normally walk the track in the morning on a normal race weekend, although for the night and the dusk races, they go after dark, which gives us some rather different photo opportunities, as you can see here. F1 race director Michael Massey and the circuit organisers also walk the track on Thursday. They're looking at things from a different viewpoint though, mainly from safety. Is the curbing the right height? How do the crash barriers measure up? But back in the paddock, there are very few spectators, and that's great news for us. Sometimes teams will invite a few guests or sponsors, but in general, Media Day sees the paddock largely free and clear, which is preferable from a photographic viewpoint. TV crews will have arranged interviews with team bosses and drivers for Thursdays, and often they'll do them in the middle of the paddock. This gives us great opportunities to shoot drivers on the way to and from those interviews and while they're being interviewed. Last year, Kimi did a 10-minute interview smack bang in the middle of the Suzuka paddock, which gave us some marvellous photos. Sky Sports sometimes does some interesting things with drivers, like this Jenga challenge last year, and driving remote-controlled cars around the paddock in Silverstone. If you're in the paddock on a Thursday, you'll almost certainly see all of the drivers out the back of the garages doing interviews. Now, when I say almost all, Mercedes don't do it, and Ferrari typically don't do it on the Thursday. They do their interviews inside, normally last 15 minutes or so. They do them as a group, and it's away from our eyes, so we never get shots of that. From time to time on a Thursday, the teams will invite fans into the paddock, fans who've gone to an extra effort. In particular, I remember this girl in Russia. She'd hand-painted some Matryoshka dolls for Lewis and Mercedes. That was a couple of years ago, I think, and they provided us with some colourful and creative images, which of course is all good PR for Mercedes-Benz. And remember, while I've got your attention, a reminder that the Saturday of the Australian GP 2020, I'll be holding one of my F1 private room long table dinners at the Smith in Prahran. There's a link to the booking page below, and I'd love to see you there. At some point every Thursday, there'll be a press conference featuring 3 to 5 drivers in the media centre. If a driver's racing in their home race, for example, Daniel Ricciardo in Australia, Sergio Perez in Mexico City, you can guarantee there'll be one of the drivers in that press conference. The FIA selects the drivers to appear, and they base their selection on who's newsworthy or who's not featured in the Thursday press conference for some time. And over an entire season though, the top drivers get more press conference appearances than the bottom drivers, as you'd pretty much expect. At many events there'll be a scheduled pit lane walk. Those who bought 3-day tickets are normally invited to take part as a bonus for purchasing that multi-day ticket, and most of the drivers will be allotted a 15-minute window where they get to meet the fans in front of their garage. Now, if you're looking for an autograph, the best pit lane walk to attend is in China, and the worst, by far, Italy. Absolutely crazy. They're 20 deep. In China, they might be 3 deep. The most colourful pit lane walk is in Japan, where the fans go to extraordinary lengths. I've posted a video about the Japanese fans, and you can find that link in the text below. It's definitely worth viewing, I promise you that. At some events on the Thursday, there's an autograph session in the fan zone or in front of the pit straight grandstand. Now for us, all of these autograph sessions are great opportunities to get shots of drivers interacting with you, their fans. Thursday's also scrutineering day, with teams pushing their cars up pit lane to the FIA garage and then back to their garages after they've been scrutinised. For us, this is a great chance to capture up-close shots of the cars. It's also where the spy photographers do their best work. Now, it's not uncommon for drivers to head to their respective garages for meetings with their crew, or sometimes to do a seat fitting on the Thursday. Occasionally the drivers will reveal a new helmet or race boot design, and because there are fewer time pressures and people around, we get ample time to shoot these things. Because there are no driving commitments for the drivers on media day, they tend to be more relaxed, they stop to chat with others in the paddock, and don't mind having a laugh with their own crew. So back out in pit lane, many of the teams will schedule pit stop practice sessions, which is a real bonus if you're on one of those pit lane walks that coincide with such a session. Although pit stop practice can take place at any time over the 4 days, even prior to sunrise, as is the case in Mexico. Personally, I love Thursdays. It's the most laid back of the 4 days, and for me, given that I focus on the human side of the sport, I tend to walk away with plenty of images and stories to share with you on both YouTube and Instagram. If you've enjoyed this video and the fact that you've made it through to the end suggests that you may well have, please like it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Go on, it's just one click of a button, and remember to click the bell at the same time so you get notified of all my future videos as soon as they're released. You can see all of my images at prostarpics.com. My podcasts and blogs, you'll find them at kimellman.com. And for the best pics live from the track and throughout the year, head to Instagram and look up at Kim Ellman. And here's one of my favourite pics from Media Day. Thanks for watching and stay passionate.